Good morning, fellow employees, and thank you for being here in this meeting. My name is Alan Chapa, and I am the CEO of Tupper Marketing Company. And today, as you know, our company has been very successful over the past few years, and upper management and I decided that we're going to expand to Japan. Upper management decided to make a task for ourselves to become experts on the very different business aspects of Japan. Today, Amar will talk about the culture of Japan. David will cover the business ethics of Japan. Bobby will cover the demographics, and I will cover the infrastructure of Japan. So before we begin, I will please ask you to hold your questions until the end. And to begin, we'll have Amar talk about the culture.
So as I said, my name is Ammar, and I've been living in Japan for 3 years, so I know about the culture of Japan. So I'll be covering the culture of Japan, and we'll start with food. Food and culture are very important for Japanese people, and understand for many different aspects for Japanese society. So food is not just food for Japanese. They love to enjoy and share and prepare the food together. So the main meal is rice with the sauce with soup, and the rice is incooked. And they have the dishes aside. They use fish and pickle vegetable. And they also like seafood. They like seafood, and they want. They like if you go to a restaurant, Japanese restaurant, you will see a lot of seafood there. And moving to my second point is the language. So there is the Japanese language is the sixth most spoken language in the world. So there is two type of language. The second one is kanji, is the adopted Japanese character. So and it's taken from the Chinese, and before the World II, it used to be more than 40,000 letters, but the United States forced them to make it less than 2,000. And the second type of language is katakana. Yeah. It's used for foreign words and names. So, for example, if they want to write an English name in katakana, they use this type of language. And last point is religion. So, Buddhism and Shinto are religion. So, Buddhism and Shinto are almost the same religion. So it's about 84% percentage of the population of Japanese are Buddhism and Shinto. But nowadays religion does not play a big role in Japanese, because they only use it for at the wedding and funeral, but they didn't use the religion nowadays in Japan. And the other religion has 60%, but the Christian is about 1 million, 2 million. So it's 1% of the Japanese population, and they live in west of Japan. So to conclude, I have covered the culture of Japan, the food, and the language and the religion. So now I'll pass it to David to talk about the national norms.
Thank you, Mark. Hello, everyone. My name is David. I've been going to be the team marketing research leader for this presentation, and hopefully, what my hope is to give you guys a strong foundation in what is the social customs and business etiquette of Japan. And the reason we're teaching you guys this is because you're not only going to be representing yourself out there, you're also going to be representing our company. So obviously you guys are going to want to avoid embarrassing, awkward social situations and propagate our agenda as best as you can. So with that in mind, here's a little bit about the social and business etiquette of Japan. Now keep in mind that minor transgressions in Japan, you're not going to be as strictly judged on your business and social customs as, say, a local business person would be. And minor transgressions might even help break the ice. But as you strengthen your relationship with your customers and your clients, these formalities will lessen, but never to the same extent as in the United States. In daily life, the most important things, the key issues to be aware of are initial greetings and meetings. Bowing is much more traditional in Japan than the conventional American handshake. Many Japanese people, if you go for a handshake, they'll give you most likely a limp hand. The most common way of meeting someone is to give them a slight bow if you're equals. If you're if you're talking to someone slightly above you, or if you're trying to please somebody, you give them a lower bow, a salute of 30 degrees. And if you're meeting somebody extremely formal, such as the president or a CEO of a corporation, you want to go give them the full 45-degree bow. The language basics and greetings are something that you should have a strong foundation in. Being able to greet somebody, ask for the bathroom, those kinds of things are something that you're going to want to be aware, knowledgeable on, and they'll very much appreciate any sort of knowledge of their language that you took the time to study and learn at least a little bit of it what you could. Mealtime etiquette. Chopstick etiquette is very different from a traditional American dining etiquette. You want to use the small ends of the chopstick to eat your food, and if you ever find yourself in a position to serve somebody else, you want to use the big ends of your chopstick and put it directly on their plate. Never pass from chopstick to chopstick. That has funeral rite implications and is highly avoided. This is another big no-no. Leaving your chopsticks in your rice bowl or pasta bowl is also frowned upon because, again, this has funeral rite implications, and you'll probably make people lose their appetite. Beverage filling. It's very common if you find yourself surrounded by seniors. You are expected to fill their beverages when they're at the most a quarter full. Usually it's when they're half full you want to give them, you want to top them off. And no tipping. Tipping is seen as sort of an insult in Japanese custom because you're implying that they don't make enough, doing what they do for their living. It's kind of an insult to their way of life. If you try to tip somebody, they'll probably end up awkwardly returning your money. So don't find yourself ever having to tip. Japanese people pride themselves on always giving their best service, no matter what. Business etiquette. Business cards come up first because business cards are an integral part of Japanese culture. You want to have at least 100 on you if you're going to be spending about a week in Japan. This is the proper way to hand somebody a business card right here. You want to extend it with both hands as almost a tribute. It represents who you are. You want to have everything on the card clearly indicated. You want to have your company logo. It has to be double-sided, one side completely in Japanese, one side completely in English. You want to give it to them with the Japanese side facing up. Business attire. While a lot of Japanese business etiquette has been growing slowly less formal over the last few decades, business attire has definitely not. It has stayed very traditional in their way of life. From October to May, it is expected for you to wear a navy blue or black suit or any really, really dark color during these months, along with a white undershirt and subdued tie. Never wear a black shirt with a white shirt and black tie. That, again, has funeral implications. And during the summer months, the Japanese summers are very hot and humid. You want to probably most Japanese people wear a short sleeve undershirt during these months or a half sleeve. And the traditional business attire during those months is gray. You want to wear a gray suit, again with a white shirt and subdued tie. For women, Japanese men have a hard time relating to women in positions of authority just through their cultural hierarchy. So as a woman, you want to try to match the men in terms of coloring during these months. And you want to wear longer skirts or trousers, I forgot to call it, the trouser pants for women, as well as tied back hair or short hair. And again, suits or very formal wear for women. Business meetings, not strictly Japanese culture, but you want to call at least 1 to 2 hours in advance to confirm that you are going to be showing up at your meeting. Punctuality is very important in Japan. You want to show up at least 10 minutes early. If you're going to be late, you want to call at least 1 hour in advance to give them a chance to either reschedule or to accommodate you better. And it's just, good manners. Business means personal habits. You don't want to blow your nose in public in Japan. Everything is about good manners and keeping the private in private. So you don't want to find yourself blowing your nose, and personal space is very important in Japanese business settings. You don't want to find yourself tapping somebody on the back, or if you do find yourself giving someone a handshake, don't grab their arm. Be very polite, mannerly, respect to whoever it is that you are meeting and presenting yourself to. So in conclusion, I've covered some of the aspects of the social and business etiquette of Japan. It's important for you to have a strong foundation in these areas if you want to propagate yourself well and really represent your company well. Japanese people tend to avoid people that they found to be rude or unmannerly in their conduct. So it's very important for you to have a strong foundation in these areas before you head over to Japan. And now I'm going to hand it over to my partner Bobby, who's going to give you a little background of demographics and geography of Japan.
Thank you, David. Of course. All right. Like my associate Alan introduced me before, my name is Bobby Scott. I got my undergraduate degree in marketing and my master's in business administration from St. Edward's University. And I am the director of firm expansion for this marketing firm. We worked months researching Japan to give y'all the best information we can to help y'all learn about what you would be getting into by moving to Japan. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the demographics. If you take a look at some of these numbers, it'll show you the distribution of population in Japan. The total population in Japan is quite large considering how small the country is itself. And its distribution actually is a little bit older, starting its biggest group in the 25 to 54-year-old age. Because the population is so high with such a small country, they're trying to control the growth of the population, so that's why we've seen a result in the population being actually older. Next, I am going to talk about the relative location of Japan. Japan is located in the Pacific Ocean. It's an island just off of the coast of the Asian continent. It is there's over 6,000 miles from the United States, so your distance from home is going to be quite large. It's a big travel. If you take a look at the picture, it's pretty close to the Asian Peninsula, but as you can tell, it is off the coast, and it's a group of about 4 or 5 islands. It is also about 500 miles from the coast of South Korea and about 600 miles off the coast of Russia. Finally, I'm going to talk to you about the geography of Japan. Like I said before, Japan is made up of a bunch of islands in the Pacific Ocean. It is located actually where a couple tectonic plates meet. So because of that, there are a few volcanoes, and they do experience quite a few earthquakes throughout the year. Also because of that, the north of Japan is very mountainous. And it's very mountainous. Also because it is distances far north and south, it experiences north and south, the climate from the south and the north changes quite a bit, and they also see every type of weather. They see cold, they see hot, their winters are cold, their summers are hot. To give an idea of how big the country is, it is 377,835 square miles. So, to finish up, today I have covered the demographics of Japan, the relative location, and its geography. And now I would like to pass my clicker to Alan to cover his part.
Thank you. So again, my name is Alan Chapa, and today I'm going to cover the infrastructure of Japan by telling you about the infrastructure and what it relies on. I'm going to tell you how most people in Japan move around, the transportation in Japan, and I'm also going to talk to you about the ways that that in Japan so I'm gonna begin with and the living conditions that people have in Japan. The infrastructure in Japan, as Bobby said, is it's an island, and because of that, there's a lot of natural disasters that can occur in Japan. The construction business is very important for the infrastructure because many natural disasters can destroy the roads and the bridges constantly. So the construction business is important for the infrastructure. The construction of bridges is a very hot and urgent topic in Japan today. And the constructions of bridges today are being constructed in ways that if a natural disaster does occur, it will resist it and not torn down. So the construction business again is a key thing for the infrastructure of Japan. Because of the infrastructure that Japan has, it shows that Japan is not only a strong country that can fastly adapt because of a natural disaster that no one expects, but it's also a country with people that can overcome challenges and hardships that hit them out of nowhere. The transportation in Japan, one of the ways that they transport is through the bullet train, and in Japan they call it the Shinkansen. It travels at about 200 miles per hour. It can reach 400 miles per hour, but the Japanese government regulated because of safety measures. It can become a little dangerous, so it just travels at 200 miles per hour, but still, as a commuter, you're traveling at that speed, you're gonna get places fairly quickly. The first bullet train was placed from the capital to Osaka, which is a big city in Japan. And today's Japan, most of the southern area of Japan is covered with bullet trains, so that's a very effective way of moving around the country in a very fast way. Another way is by road transportation. There's a lot of expressways in Japan, and one of the unique things of the expressways is that they have very beautiful sceneries. Here you can see in the picture, it's an expressway, and it has straight ahead of it Mount Fiji, which is a very nice view. Another way of transportation is by flying. There are 98 airports in Japan, and one of the biggest ones is Tokyo International Airport, which is the 4th busiest in the entire world. Moving to my next point, which is living conditions. In Japan, again, it's an island. They have a certain amount of land that they can use, and therefore they have very crowded cities. They live in small apartments or in wall-to-wall houses because land in Japan is a very expensive cost. They have a very high standard of living, and today Japan has a very good health and safety options. They currently enjoy the longest life expectancy in the world. So to conclude what I talked about, today I talked about the infrastructure of Japan, I talked about the transportation, and I also talked about the living conditions of this country. And to conclude our whole presentation as a whole, today Amaro Kurashi covered the culture of Japan by telling us a little bit about the food, the religion, and the language. David Gutierrez talked about the business etiquette and told us some of the unspoken rules that you must follow if you're going to make business in Japan. Bobby Scott talked to us about the demographics by telling us a little bit about where the island is located and the number of miles, the distance from the United States and from the closest inland, which is Korea. And I talked about the infrastructure by telling you how bridges and construction is a key thing in infrastructure of Japan. So again, when we decided to make business with Japan because we believe that it's a great country to make business with right now, we spent a lot of time deciding which one it was going to be, and we can agree all together that it was a good decision. And we believe that with this presentation, you should be able to go to Japan and have a good idea of how to behave and how to handle yourself, not only to make a good image of yourself, but also of the company. So I would like to thank you all for coming, and at this point, if there are any questions, either me or any one of the members here is going to answer the questions. So thank you.